Great to have you with us. Now, the Tain district in the Brong-Ahafo region has identified 5 communities that could benefit from government's flagship One District, One Dam program. They are Menji, Namasa, Yabraso, Debibi, and Sekwa Tainso. Tain District Chief Executive Charity Jomo said in a recent interview that she was actually on a 3-day working visit to all traditional councils in the area, and she said a committee will soon be inaugurated to take charge of the project. Joy News' Nesta Kafui Ajuma has more.
The policies of Nana Addo Dankwa's government, the President of the Republic of Ghana, is one village, one dam. Luckily for us in Tain, we've identified 5 villages that can benefit from that policy. And today we visited 2 of the communities, that is Menji and Namasa. They have some ponds and rivers there that can be developed into irrigation and fish ponds. My governance in Tain is not going to be relying solely on government. There are PPP arrangements, there are donor agencies. This is an agric project. And so I'm sure that entrepreneurs outside will be interested in the dams as well, not just the government. We already have one in Degedege, and it's going to be revamped. So why can't we add 2, either government or private partnership?
Charity Jumo also urged youth of Tain district to start venturing into aquaculture, since the One Village, One Dam project will support it. Most of the communities visited expressed worry about lack of safe drinking water, deplorable road network, absence of police stations, as well as inadequate classrooms for the various basic schools. The chief of Brody, C. Bofor II, urged the DCE to use her office to bridge the huge developmental gap in their area.
Area council.
We don't have an area council, therefore our money is being given to other areas with area councils. All communities in this zone have disagreed on where the area council headquarters should be sited. The NPP government should make sure an area council becomes operational in Zone 4.
Charity Jumo promised the various communities that their concerns are seriously being worked on, and very soon development projects will start rolling out. She appealed to the various traditional councils to ensure that peace prevailed in their localities to pave way for accelerated development. Nesta Kafui Ajuma reporting.
To the northern region now, where patients at the Savelugu Nantong Hospital share wards with dead bodies as a result of inadequate infrastructure. The hospital's morgue is dysfunctional and overcrowded, forcing managers to divide the limited space between the living and the dead. Hospital officials are concerned the situation threatens the health and safety of patients, but have no choice. Joy News' Hashmin Mohammed visited the facility and has come through with this report.
The facility looks good outside, but you will be disappointed when you get in. The ceiling of the roof is torn, exposing naked wear in some parts of the hospital. Rusty nails can no longer hold firmly together, leading to severe leakages which destroy patients' files. There is also inadequate space and beds, making children and adults share beds in the walls, whilst others lie on the bare floor. Yakubu Al-Hassan, who has been using the facility with his children, has been speaking about his experiences.
I brought a child here, that was 2 weeks ago. The child was admitted at the general ward. Over there, the place was so crowded and there were no beds to contain the patients. So my child had to be treated on the bare floor. We stayed here for 3 days and were discharged. On getting home, I realized that the child was having other skin diseases, which I suspected we contracted from the hospital. So we returned and the child was treated of that disease. So
the lack of space and inadequate beds is the least of their problems. The facility lacked toilet and urinal facilities, and patients engage in open defecation. The morgue is dysfunctional, and patients are worried about the problem.
To bush, to ease or take our bath and outside the clinic or outside the hospital.
So
we came around 5 to 4 to 5. That time people may not see you. We just do it quickly and go back again.
Aside the hospital, in an unlikely event there is a death, there's no mortuary where the disease is normally sent to. The patients have to be with the body until the family come to claim the body. The stench and the frustration in patients watching this is not easy. So we are pleading with government.
Management of the hospital have attributed the challenges of the hospital to the inability of government to take any rehabilitation and expansion works before upgrading from the health center to a municipal hospital to serve a growing population, which is now at 193,283. Dr. Samson Abankwa is the medical superintendent of the hospital.
Improvement in terms of the facilities at the hospital. So though it is functioning as a hospital, all the facilities or most of the facilities that are here were meant for a health center. So one major problem that we are facing is the problem of congestion. Anywhere you go, you see that people are making do with very small spaces. For example, if you go to the lab, the whole place is so congested, and at times when they have to handle stool and sputum and things, it's virtually impossible because it's just a small enclosed place that they are managing. You go to the accident and emergency, it is sharing the same facility with the CSSD where they sterilize our items. So when they finish treatment and you have dead body just by the corner there, I mean, you will not feel comfortable lying by in a world where dead body, you know, human beings and dead bodies, more so the Muslim community. So it is a problem for
Member of Parliament for Savligu, Abdul Somed Mohamed Gunu, who toured the facility with the district chief executive, Hajia Aishetu Seidu, tells Joy News he is overwhelmed by the state of the hospital.
Last year, and then when the Parliamentary Select Committee visited the hospital, they were disappointed because this is more this year. So I think this is just a clinic. Yes. You cannot describe this as a hospital. Yes. So we need.
The government prioritized the Savligu Nanton Municipal Hospital by giving it a facelift. Patients visiting this particular facility will continue to share beds in wards and also sit with cots. For Joy News, Hashmin Mohammed reports from Savligu.
Now, moving on, Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amakwata has assured repair work is being expedited on the Yapei and Buipe bridges so it can be reopened within 4 weeks. Briefing members of Parliament on the closure, which has led to an inconvenience on the part of motorists, the minister said the swift closure was necessary to avoid collapse of the bridges. Joseph Opokugakpo joins us from Parliament and is standing by with the Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, Anthony Abai-Fakabo. Joseph, what else has the minister been saying?
So he indicated that the contractors would be working day and night. They would be doing the work as quickly as possible so that then they would be able to complete the repair works. He's also been given alternative routes, indicating that there are available stretches along the central, the western, and the eastern corridors, which would allow for motorists to use those stretches to get to their destinations up north. Anthony Kabo, Deputy Minister for Roads and Transport, is joining us. And then we'll hear from the Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Al-Hassan Suhini, as well. But Mr. Kabo, and so the MPs have been drawing attention to the need to ensure that within the 4 weeks, this repair works is completed as has been scheduled, so there isn't any extension. Can you give them that firm assurance that it will really be completed?
Well, I heard in the minister's statement on the floor that the works are expected to finish between 4 to 6 weeks. And so within that span of time, I hope that the works can be done. And indeed, this is an in-house job that is being done by the Bridge Maintenance Unit, which is a department under the Ghana Highway Authority. So and like the minister indicated, these are engineers are going to work in shifts. There'll be a night shift, there'll be a day shift, so that they can expedite the work. And we expect that concrete, once it's been cast, it will take between 21 days to 28 days to cure, because we want to make sure that these are not just temporal maintenance works that we are doing, but we are doing solid maintenance work that will take us through the period until such time that we are constructing the new bridges.
Why weren't adequate consultations done, so that then the inconvenience that we've seen Indeed, and people being stranded is not witnessed?
There was a lot of consultations that were done. We can't finish consulting everybody, but the major key stakeholders were consulted. Adverts in Tamale on all the radio stations have been placed even before the closure. In Bolga, same adverts were running. In Tamale and in Wa, these adverts have been running as a way of alerting the public and especially our brothers from the Sahelian regions that these bridges were going to be certainly shut down for these works to be done.
Hassan Suhini is the MP for Tamale North. Did you hear those ads he indicates were out there on radio and TV to draw the attention of your people that these roads will be closed, so people should find alternatives?
Well, I will not be in a position to tell if the minister indeed plays adverts or not. But what I do know is that sometimes you need to follow up to be sure that these adverts are being carried out. Because to the best of my knowledge, no advert was done, at least adequately, for the people to be prepared. And if you listen to the minister's answers on the floor of Parliament, you realize that this seemed like an impromptu decision that the ministry had to take. He visited the place, and within 24 hours after visiting the place, it was shut down. And
that sounds like proactiveness, isn't it the case?
You may say so, but it also brings up the question of what happened with the maintenance work that was carried out in March. Is it that people did not do what they were supposed to do, and how much was spent as a result of that maintenance work? Can we describe that as money down the drain? Because it beats my imagination. It simply befuddles me that you will carry out a maintenance work in March, and by November or earlier than that, you shut down the same bridge that you carried out maintenance on only some few months earlier. So you can describe it as proactiveness, you can describe it as waste, you can describe it whichever way. But the issues we have raised as a minority, apart from all these, have to do with also the lack of consultation that went on before the decision to close this road. And that's why I'm thinking that perhaps it was impromptu. And it did not allow them the time to do the necessary consultation that would have at least ameliorated the situation and create alternative routes for the tribal public, especially because the season is important. You're talking about the dry season, and many people survive on their farms around that area. They are mostly agrarian, so they go to farms, they harvest, and this is the period that they transport their farm produce to the south to sell, so that they can take care of their children in schools, indeed at the university or any other tertiary level. And this is a case where they cannot transport their food produce at least easily. And we have even reports of cattle dying there as we speak because they can't be transported.
The minister said this was an emergency situation. The national security had to get involved. The bill could have collapsed if they had allowed it to stand for additional days. Isn't such explanation satisfactory?
I mean, why did we wait for it to become an emergency? If we needed to close the bridge down, that decision could have been arrived at as early as February when they were carrying out maintenance works.
That's fine.
So why did we have to wait until it was such an emergency that we needed to shut it down the way we have done without consultation, bringing untold hardship to road users? And remember, cutting almost half of the country. You're talking about landmass, and you're talking about the effect on the people who, for various reasons, are using that road to reach the southern part of this country, and others who also will want to reach the northern part of this country from the south. And then the effect on the economy. Today, I was told that a bowl of maize at the Nima market used to be 4 Ghana cedis. It has moved to 6 Ghana cedis as we speak, simply because the grains are not coming. And this is the time that usually produce such as that are transported.
My last question, and very briefly, you heard from the minister. Do you feel reassured that the situation is under control and that probably in the next few weeks normalcy would return? Very briefly, then we hear from the Deputy Minister.
Yes, it is my hope that they will stick to the timetable, they will supervise the work, and they will insist that it is completed within schedule. But in the meantime, it is our hope also that they will facilitate the alternative routes that we are told are available, because some of them are not passable. They are not simply motorable. We also know of the ferry that is around Yeji and transporting goods and passengers. We are told the ferry is not also in a very good condition. I'm told the compass, for example, is problematic, and it doesn't have adequate lighting to when it gets dark. So let us not wait until we have a disaster on that also for us to come and have a discussion on.
Many thanks for speaking to us. Hassan Suhini is the MP for Tamale North. Let me round up with the Deputy Transport Minister. First of all, the Deputy Roads Minister, I should say. First of all, we're expecting a new ferry in the Yeji area. From your information, has it arrived yet?
Well, I think that I'm told as of this morning that a ferry had moved to the site, and they are arranging the phases in which they will convey people. That is not going to resolve the problems entirely, but at least it takes off the pressure a little bit from the current just one ferry which is doing the cutting. But let me just clarify a few issues. The minister didn't visit the place and all of a sudden decided to close down the bridge. We had been visiting this site for a while to ascertain the level of damage. Indeed, I have indicated on the floor of Parliament that this is a bridge that has a strength of 40 years. We're in the 53rd and 54th year of the bridge. Clearly, the previous government could have looked into it and found a solution. We wouldn't have been in this situation. But because we are proactive, we're saying that we are looking at constructing a brand new bridge over the Daboya so that it will serve as a bypass in future if we have these challenges. He talked about the alternative routes.
Which he says are not motorable.
Yes, the alternative routes are not motorable because these are roads we inherited from the previous government. Contractors were on those stretches. They were not paid for years, and so they moved out of sight. It is this government that has come and is pressing upon these contractors to go back to site. Not a single contract has been terminated.
Yes, that's the point that the minority leader was drawing attention, and that'll be the final bit. That the minority leader made the point that
a lot of the contractors left site as far back as 2016 because of lack of payments. It is this government that has come to office and has instructed, because some amounts of monies have been paid to some of the contractors, to go back and work on portions of that road to allow for these diversions to be smooth.
Finally, Haruna Idrisu says you cancelled some of the contracts after you took over power, and that's how come, you suspended them.
A suspended contract is not a terminated contract.
Okay, but he thinks that that's why the alternative routes are virtually unavailable for use right now, that there are problems with the Buipe-Yapei.
There was no suspension of contracts, and I think we need to put that in context. There was no suspension. These contractors were awarded contracts, they were on the site, they were never paid, they left the contract site before the 2016 elections because there was no money to pay the contractors. And of course, contractors would not work without being paid. It is this government that has found money and has re-engaged the contractors and has asked them to move to site and work on portions of the road so that this diversion can be smooth for commuters.
The roads minister told us weeks ago that some of the cocoa roads had actually been suspended pending investigation.
Some have been.
And according to the minority leader, some of them fall within the Eastern Corridor stretch.
That particular stretch was not. Cocoa roads are not in the Volta region. Cocoa roads, majority of them are in cocoa growing areas, and those ones have been affected. But these particular ones on the Eastern Corridor Road were never suspended. The contractors left site because of lack of payment from 2016. Who was in control?
I'm sure you've not seen the last of this bit yet. It generated some conversation on the floor of Parliament itself. Many thanks for joining us, Deputy Minister for Roads and Transport, Anthony Kabwe. Currently, there's a conversation ongoing on the floor of Parliament about the situation of people being sold into slavery in Libya, and Chairman of Parliament Foreign Affairs Committee, Frank Anodompe, has been calling for action to help deal with that, and he's received some support from other MPs, and they're asking that the Minister for Foreign Affairs appears before the House to brief MPs on the situation. Back to you, Daniel.
Well, thank you very much, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, for bringing us that one. And now we move to other issues having to do with what Joseph was just talking about some persons being sold off in slavery and slave markets in Libya. And now when this issue came up, of course, there was some concern that Ghanaians could be part of these persons being sold in the slave centers, because it was reported there were Ghanaians in the detention centers. And so a question was put to the Foreign Affairs Minister in Parliament. She was summoned to come. And what happened is that the Ghanaian mission in Malta traveled to these detention centers in Libya to find out if there are indeed any Ghanaians there. There are 168 Ghanaians established to be there, but what they discovered is that they were not really at the slave markets, but they were being held for migration offenses. Now, on the back of these, the head of DWTV Hausa Service, Thomas Mosh, is encouraging African leaders to strengthen internal collaborations when negotiating with nations from other parts of the country. Speaking earlier on News Desk, Mr. Mosh bemoaned the fact that poor trade agreements between Africa and Europe, for instance, is a contributing factor to the economic hardships which trigger migration. A recent CDD Afrobarometer survey found that 28% of Guinean youth are willing to leave the country's shores in search for greener pastures. He was speaking ahead of the Joy News DWTV town hall to be held at the Easter Hall on the University of Ghana campus on November 30.
I think many African governments have understood that, and they have been trying that to negotiate with the EU, for example, within the ECOWAS bloc. But we have also seen that the Europeans are trying to sabotage that and have started negotiating with single governments. And then, of course, you get back to the African side and say, okay, if there is no solidarity among the African governments that say, no, we are not negotiating with anybody outside ECOWAS, then, of course, this strategy could work. And I think that's a bit part of the whole problem. The Euro-African summit at the moment in Abidjan going on, and one has the impression the Europeans are basically most interested in creating ways of preventing further migration, while the Africans are interested in opening up these trade spaces in order to be able to develop their economies further. And one has the impression that both sides are not really coming very closely together on this. And if you look at the previous years of negotiations between the European Union and some African countries, it was not very successful, because European governments are broadly not willing to open up their markets for African goods. On the contrary, there are still exports of basic goods to African countries that destroy markets here. If you look at like tomato market or chicken or other examples, or the frozen foods, the exploitation of the fishing grounds, and so on. So you can name a lot of examples that show how the European economy is contributing to the problems here.
Let's keep talking about migration. Now, it is undeniable that traveling overseas has many benefits. But however, when people are willing to go to any lengths, even risk their lives to leave the shores of your nation, you know there's a major challenge. On the back of these reports of 168 Ghanaians being brought back to the country on a charter flight by the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and the existence of slave markets in Libya, Joy News' Ahmad Krampa took to the streets to ask Ghanaians if they'll be willing to travel overseas under any of these harrowing circumstances.
Well, traveling outside is not my thing, and I don't think it's necessary, because provided you've been here, schooled here, definitely you should be able to work here and make ends meet. If you are traveling, you should go there to rest, not to go there and like be a laborer for somebody. So for me, it's out. What I will only say is that is enviness. Like, people are not content with what they have. They think traveling outside can make more money, but it involves a lot. So I'm thinking from my side, it's kind of enviness.
It's just because they don't know that there's money around. But in Ghana, there's plenty money around that you can dig it, but people don't know. Just even selling pure water, you can make money. Yes. So it's not necessary traveling, leaving the country to go and make money somewhere. At the end of the day, they will frustrate you and you come back. And you come and meet us here whilst making it big. Because I'm once a shoe shine boy. If I can make it and employ people to pay them, then meaning somebody can be here and the person's life will turn around. Are desperate to travel for them to go and see what is there. But when you go there, at the end of the day, you do a donkey job. Some of the guys too are lazy because they think living at one place you can make it. But no, you don't have to sleep. You have to fish. You have to go in to see what is really there. If you said you hang around people thinking about that, you make it. No. So I think it's both ways, laziness and ignorance.
Migration is not a bad thing at all, because for young students like us, we go outside the European countries, we learn, because they are the developed countries, we learn a thing or two. So it wouldn't be bad to come back and impact your country into your nation. But if you go there and then you stay, you know, that kind of brain drain, I don't know if you've heard of it, but you stay there, you are helping them. What about your own, you know, your native country? So I think it's a good thing. We should go there, we should learn their ways and means of doing things and come here and impact into our country. And basically, I think in every sector, when it comes to health-wise, we think that maybe Ghanaian, our hospitals are not good enough. When it comes to maybe dressing, because we learn from them through the movies and all, why don't I go there and see what is happening there itself? But I'm sure if you've been there, you've learned all those things, it's good. But it's good to come back here and then make an impact in your country as well. We have jobs here and we could even create jobs. You know, this new government is talking about job creation and then helping upcoming startups and all. So we could take opportunity of these. We could as well go there and then be doing this import and exporting of goods. It wouldn't be a bad thing. But I believe that if we really want to work as Ghanaians, the internet is there. Some people can just sit in the comfort of their homes and they are still working. So why not? I think we still have jobs here that we've not yet explored. So there's more for us, the youth, to do or to work on it.
If I get a chance to travel, I will. But then looking at traveling outside the country, what am I going to do there? That's a big question I should be asking myself, whether I'm going to work or whatever, because it's only work that can take me out there. But unless, of course, I mean, it's just a normal visit, I don't think I'm interested in going out just for going out sake, but for a purpose, I will do that.
Still watching Joy News today. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, Freemasons have long been seen by many as a secret society. They have also been the subject of many conspiracy theories on their activities, with some people reading meanings into their signs and symbols. Some Freemasons say those negative views about their activities are largely because they have not been open about what they stand for. As the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei II and former Presidents John Ejekun Kufuor are billed to be present for the launch of a book titled The Freemasons at the British Council later today, Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba had rare access to the Freemason Hall here in Accra, where he has been interacting with the author of the book, Abraham JC.
The Masons were responsible for building all these big cathedrals and castles and roads and everything, including the White House of America, which was built by Masons. So, in order to spread, they needed discipline. They needed people to trust each other. They needed people to be honest. And they needed people to be qualified to perform tasks. And therefore, they decided that they will utilize the principles of the building trade, hence the Masons, to expand upon a philosophy of life that could be seen to be a way of life, one of doing good for mankind. Freemasonry says you can be a Muslim, you can be a Hindu, you can be a Buddhist, you can be a Pharisee, you can be a Christian, and we have various denominations of Christianity. That is not what Freemasonry concerns itself about. Freemasonry says we are the children of God under the fatherhood of man. And for as long as you believe in God, you believe in your maker, your religion could be what you want. That's your private matter. Freemasonry does not offer a way to heaven. We don't promise heaven. We don't proselytize. We have no doctrine. Ours is that men should learn to live together in peace and harmony so that they can develop their innate potential and improve towards making this place a better place. Whether you are Catholic, whatever it is, it's your private matter. Freemasonry does not interfere. But no one can ever be made a Freemason who does not believe in God and who is not to make a public pronouncement of it. You must believe in God, because before anybody can ever become a Freemasonry, we will ask you, in all cases of difficulty and danger, in whom do you put your trust? And if your trust is not in God, that will be the end of any dealings between Freemasonry and you. You can never become a Freemason unless you believe in God. Whatever your religion is private to you, and with the Freemason does not interfere. But Freemasonry expects you to continue to be a good member of your church and work and believe as the church or the mosque or the religion teaches you. We don't interfere. Those things we teach, there is nothing in it incompatible with anyone's religion affiliation. It is not incompatible with your political affiliation. Neither is it incompatible with civic, moral, or social duties. So anyone can become a Freemason as long as he professes and says publicly and knows God is the architect and the giver of all good things. Without him, nothing has happened.
Still watching Joy News today. Now, Kumasi Mayor Osei Esibe-Antwi is asking residents of Kumasi to start backyard farming to boost food production. Mr. Antwi says such an initiative will augment and give further meaning to government's agricultural policies, especially the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative. He spoke as the Metro Farmers' Day Durbar in Kumasi. Prince Apia reports.
This year's Farmers' Day will be climaxed in Kumasi to cap a week of activities. For this reason, metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies in some parts of Ashanti region decided to go ahead of the national ceremony. In Kumasi, the spotlight was on vegetable farmer Ifya Sapoma of Ahumaso, who was adjudged best physically challenged farmer. Shamu Farms and Enterprise at Ahujo won the overall best farmer for the metropolis. Farmer representative John Yeboah challenges government to its promises on agriculture.
I was talking about the credit in kind facilities for the livestock farmers. For the previous years, government gives 10 sheep to a certain farmer to rear for 2 years. And 2 years later, he comes for another 10 and give it to another farmer. This increased the total number of livestock farming, and it helps a lot. So you appeal to the government we are reminding the government to come back and have such a fruitful incentives like that. And the president of today has promised 1 district, 1 factory. We appreciate for that, but we are looking forward to see its establishment, which is it shouldn't be a political talk. That is what I'm talking about. And this will create a lot of employment to our youth.
Mr. Esibe-Antwi, however, notes about 90% of land in Kumasi is now covered by residential or commercial activities. Mr. Esibe, however, notes about 90% of land in Kumasi is now covered by residential or commercial structures. He says backyard farming is a good option for residents.
people were amazed even to hear that Kumasi has emerged as the #1 in the whole of Ashanti region because of the cultivation of spring onions. The farms are not far from where they are living, so it's an opportunity. So that is why I base upon it and encouraged and invited all the youth within the metropolis to get into farming, not looking far for land, but looking within their own corridors. We are not limiting it only to that of the spring onions, but to vegetables in general. And we are also adding up flowers because Kumasi has got a number of rivers. We have more than 7 rivers. And because of that, we have a lot of areas that are suitable for the cultivation of flowers, suitable for the cultivation of vegetables. And when it comes to the expert knowledge, we also have it. Crop research is here in Kumasi. Soil research is here in Kumasi. KNUST is also there to provide all the needed technical support.
Prince Apia reporting.
And that's it for today's bulletin of Joy News Today. I am Daniel Dazi. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com.